Give it up for Ken. All right. Thanks so much, Ken. All right, I am so excited to be here with our guest today. So my name is Malik Ducard, and I head up the Global Family and Learning team for YouTube. And it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce the man, the legend, Bill Nye. So let's give a round of applause. Now we've got around an hour, and I could probably spend the whole hour introducing you, but I'll spend the whole hour doing that. I'll kick off with a little bit of intro. So Bill Nye has been the public face of science for more than 20 years. In his latest book that we'll talk a lot about today, Everything All at Once, How to Unleash Your Inner Nerd, Tap into Radical Curiosity, and Solve Any Problem, from Rodale Books, Nye issues a call to arms meant to encourage readers to really become the change they want to see in the world. Whether addressing global warming, social change, or personal success, there are certain strategies that always get results. Looking at the world with radical curiosity, being driven by a desire for a better future, and being willing to take the actions needed to make change a reality. Best known as the host of Emmy Award-winning PBS Discovery Channel show, Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Give it up for that. And the current host of Netflix show, Bill Nye Saves the World. Give it up for that. Bill is a science educator, mechanical engineer, and New York Times best-selling author. He's also the CEO of the Planetary Society that we'll talk about, and holds a BS in mechanical engineering from Cornell, and has several doctorate degrees. So let's give a warm introduction, or welcome to Bill Nye.
Thank you, Malik. Thank you. Is there any time left?
Right, that's right. So I had the opportunity to read your book, Everything All at Once, and loved it. And
I appreciate that. A lot of times you get interviewed and they haven't read the book. So that's nice. Thank you.
Have read it cover to cover. And
these are your people here, it looks like.
These are my people, my kids and wife.
They're not in school today. Well, it's July, I guess.
So can you tell us, what does Everything All at Once mean?
So we have a great many problems facing humankind. We have, when I was in grade school, there were 3 billion people in the world. Now there are almost 7.4 billion. By 2050, there certainly will be 9, but there may be 10 billion people. And they're all going to want access to Google. They're all going to want to live the way we live in the developed world. So this means we got to provide clean water, reliable, renewably produced electricity, and access to the internet to everybody. And that's a big job. So we got to do everything all at once. Let's go. And so along this line, I just tell everybody, I'm not much for multitasking. I think there really, much as I love all the young people, I think there really isn't any such thing. Instead, you got to keep in mind everything that has to be done as you accomplish each task. Does that help?
Yeah, that's...
Plus, it's a catchy title, people. It's catchy. I'm caught.
In reading this book, it almost seemed like it was a manifesto.
Yes, the Nerd Manifesto.
A Nerd Manifesto.
Yes.
That's right. And
do it this way.
It's an activist book. Like,
yes.
Where does that come from, and what are you acting on?
You want to leave, there's two things. Everybody's responsible for his or her own actions. This is something my dad would say. Mm-hmm. And then you want to leave the world better than you found it, if you can. Mm-hmm. And if we don't hustle, we're going to leave the world a lot worse than we found it. And so we got to get to work. So that's why I'm an activist. I mean, I guess. When it comes to things like scientific literacy, that seems like an obvious thing to be in favor of, because it enables companies like this to change the world. And it also enables a country like the United States to remain competitive economically because innovation, which is what you guys are all about. But then you would think that climate change would not be anything to argue about. It would be something to get to work on. Yet we have this amazing contingent or segment of our society that's in denial about climate change because of the success of the climate deniers. They've been so influential. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote this book. Let's go.
That's right.
When are we done? At 1 o'clock, you guys you'll have it all set by 1:30.
We'll have all the
quarter
answers.
to 2. It'll be done.
And why do you think that there are so many deniers?
Oh, because of the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not rocket surgery, you guys. The fossil fuel industry has just really thrown money at the problem and influenced their congressmen, representatives, not just tactically and by sending specious materials and stuff to the congressional staff, but strategically working statewide or Commonwealth-wide in Kentucky, Tennessee, and so on, to the point where it's no trouble at all to meet people who go, I don't know if climate change is really happening. Yeah, it really is. So it's a big problem, and it's almost unique to the United States. There's very few climate deniers in UK, there's quite a few, I guess. But at the recent summit of the 20 largest economies, the United States was isolated. It doesn't want to participate in the Paris Agreement and so on. It's just one word for it would be silly. Yeah. But another one would be deeply concerning. That's 2 words, but it's like that. It's like that.
And what do you think that the path is? There's the science behind the reality, but then there's also the reality of politics, the social engineering that maybe needs to be factored in. How do we get to the place that we need to be?
Well, climate deniers in this one case, not so much anti-vaxxers, but climate deniers are almost universally old. Almost all older, people over 50 years old, 67 years old, people who control a lot of the money. And when those people age out, as the saying goes, the other expression for that is die. Then young people, if you've ever seen the map, maybe you guys generated it, it was SurveyMonkey. There's a map of the electoral college of only millennials had voted. And it's overwhelmingly the other way on social issues, especially climate change. So I think climate change deniers who are affiliated with conservative parties are very much aware of that. And so there's a big hustle to get very conservative judges put in place in the Supreme Court and to maintain this denial as long as possible, to get as many regulations turned over as possible, as quickly as possible. But when you guys get to be the majority of the voting of the electorate, this will all have to be reversed, and it'll happen. But for people like me, my life will suck a little bit near the end, but you guys, your lives will really suck, because once the carbon dioxide, methane stuff are in the atmosphere, you just don't get them out. Carbon dioxide lasts a couple hundred years. Its cycle is about 5 years, but it gets replaced by another carbon dioxide molecule, and that's going to go on for a couple hundred years. The analogy is you have a roast in the oven, or turkey in the oven, or whatever. I know, okay, this is, use your imagination, vegans, just imagine. After you take it out of the oven, the heat's still working its way into the middle for a long time, and that's what's going to happen to the Earth. So we want to get to work on climate change as fast as we can.
How much time do we have?
Well, everybody argues about that.
Yeah.
That people will be around indefinitely. You can't kill humans, they're crazy. But you want to have the highest quality of life for as many people as possible. You don't want... Santa Monica Beach is cool. Why bury it? Why put it underwater?
Right.
Come on. Let's keep it.
Can I read a passage from your book?
What if I said no? What would that... Yes.
I'll go to the next
Read
question.
the whole thing. Yeah, turn it up loud. Come on, Malik. Let them hear you outside. Blow the roof off the dump. Let's go. Blast it.
So you write, a lot of what I've done over the past 4 decades, including writing the book that you're reading now, was inspired by the need to help people understand what it means to be a global species. The challenge is taking responsibility for our actions, assuming deliberate control of the change. We're all in this together. Nerds don't give up when there's a problem to be solved, and so I've kept working on my climate message, redoubling my efforts to try everything all at once.
Yes!
What have you been doing?
Brilliant!
It is. And thank you for that. And what have you been doing all at once? Like, this has really been your life.
Well, I come here.
Yeah.
I wrote another book, which takes time. I don't know if you've tried it. And I go to college campuses, I speak, I go to US Congress, I go to the Astronautical Congress, which is a huge party of rocket people. And we talk about climate change and Bill's big three: clean water, renewable electricity, and access to the internet. Mm-hmm. And for example, at the Astronautical Congress, to provide access to the internet in the developing world will almost certainly involve what we call space assets, what other people call satellites. And they're going to have to be in low Earth orbit, a constellation of a few hundred of them, and they'll hand off the internet service from one to the other, the way we do with mobile phone calls. And this is all seems to be doable, but doing it at a reasonable cost, and who's going to pay for it, and who benefits, and so on and so on. So these are issues that we can solve, that you guys, especially with the efficiency of the internet, are going to be a huge part of. And I appreciate it, man. Whoa, man. Yeah.
So can you, let's switch gears a little bit to...
Switch gears, older reference for you electric vehicle operators.
Right, that's right.
I know many of you may have bicycles. They're not fixies, not singles. These are gear shift. 17 speed, 21 speed, yeah.
You talk a lot about the nerd mindset and really...
I know nothing about it.
and embracing it.
Yes, it's not a fixie, it's a 17 speed, 21 speed. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
So what is the nerd mindset? How do you describe
that? So everybody's passionate about something, right? You guys at Google especially, there's something, that you're into business, right? There's something that you think is cool. Mm-hmm. And you're passionate about it. We want to get everybody to harness that passion to accomplish great things, to save the world for humans. I remind everybody, the Earth's going to be here no matter what we do. I want to save it for me, the human. We're in the sixth extinction. This is all very serious biz. We are now not just the ancient dinosaurs who were killed by the asteroid. We are also the asteroid. We're on both ends of this thing. So we can change. We have free will, or nominally, we have free will. Certainly have the ability to reason. So I want everybody to harness their nerdiness and make the world better. And my claim for your evaluation is that the people who wrote the US Constitution were nerds. They just thought it was cool. We're going to have a brand new government without a king or a queen. What? Yeah, it's going to be cool. And it'll be like Athens, only on a whole continent-sized scale. And yes, to be sure, there were some issues with people of your ancestry.
Yeah, that's right.
But they were doing the best they could at the time, doing the best they could. But they were nerds. They looked at at running a government with an analytic or critical thinking perspective. Article 1, Section 8, U.S. Constitution, refers to the progress of science and useful arts. That's us, people. Useful arts, I think, in 18th century speak, was engineering. Making buildings and sewer systems and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The useful arts. Mm-hmm. And no, they are. You guys, people have said, Malik, and we'll get back to work, but people have said, hey, Bill Nye, what's the most important invention ever? And you can tell they want me to say the Google phone, But to me, the most important invention humans come up is a sewer. Absolutely. You could not have any city like this without a sewer system. And you got to be thoughtful. You got to plan on a city-size scale. So, viva la sewer.
Now, you talk about the nerd mindset and how it should really be applied to big problems. And you make a distinction between the big problems and the trivial problems. Can you talk
What's a trivial problem? Like your shoelaces? See, he has to double knot his shoes. So does she and the guy next to her. Not me. Same knot. This stays here all day, doesn't come untied. You have to double knot because they come untied, right?
They do. They
I
have.
think the word breaks my heart, the phrase breaks my heart does not do enough. I think just crushes me every day. I look out and see the mistied shoes. And I realize my life's kind of been a waste. It's kind of a failure. So here's the thing, you guys.
Let's get a close-up if we can.
Well, just that these are shoelaces or bow tie ends. Everybody is familiar with this expression, an overhand knot. You one wrap around the other string. If I were to do this, oh, it's hard to do. It's so troubling. Where your knot goes up and down your shoe like this, as yours does when you start, right? The loads on this knot are uneven. They're unsymmetrical. So this knot comes untied readily. Yes, it's heartbreaking. Yes, it sucks. But what you want is for the knot to be square, symmetrical. Now notice if I pull these, other way, Bill, dude. If you pull them this way, you end up with a square knot, a beautiful symmetrical square knot. For any sailors here, this is also called a reef knot, for reefing the sails, for making the sails smaller in strong wind. No, it's a real thing. Reefing a sail is a real thing.
We do have a close-up.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So this is what you want in your bow, is a square bow. So you're saying that's trivial? All the shoes walking around the earth, mistied? Just thinking about it. I'm okay. Yes, lead on, Malik. Yes.
But by the way, I think you just created what will be the #1 how-to video on YouTube. Since this will be
it's the same
on
knot
YouTube.
here. Okay, this is the same.
Let's please get a close-up.
We'll wait till you're up and close. Maybe they're probably not listening.
That's fine. Oh, there we go. We got it now.
Anyway, so it's an overhand knot, right? That's an overhand knot. Overhand knot, or whatever you want to call it, one string around the other. Then you got to make a loop on your shoe. We can't do this too fast. Huh? On your shoe, you make a loop. Now, whether you do it this way or make bunny ears, it works the same. But you go around the loop with the other one, and then you got to poke that through to create the other half of the bow. This is not, controversial. So here, don't worry about that. Here, you got to make a loop, same idea. And then by tradition, the way I was brought up, you have this one go over the top. That way gravity helps. Yes. Well, what if you're in zero gravity? I seldom. I mean, you can always hope. So the key to it, you guys, you have to preserve a place so when this is wrapped around your finger, there's still space there. And then you push this through, like, as we do. There we go. And so then you have to, with any knot, you have to dress the knot. You have to snug it tight. It's not magic. It's not rocket surgery. You just have to tighten it evenly. And then you have a bow. And I'll just tell you, everybody, thank you, Bill Nye tied his own shoe. So then when you have a bow tie, I don't see a lot of ties here at Google, but when you lean over, it doesn't slip into the soup. It does not flop into your flask. And so this is why you wear a bow tie. I mean, you watch the Oscars or whatever, and the guys are all in tuxedos. They wear a bow tie. Once in a while, a guy will show up with a single button because he's so cool, or a black tie on a black shirt with a black, okay, whatever. But when you're dressed up, you wear a black tie on a white shirt. You don't wear a blue shirt when you're dressed up in a tuxedo. And everybody, that's when you're dressed up, you wear a bow tie, people. That's all I'm saying. Now, BT dubs, as the kids say, just this morning, Bill Nye Saves the World was nominated for 2 Emmys. That's cool. So, Don't come running to me. Although I am one of the writers, you're only allowed to put 5 names on it. Mm-hmm. So we have 5 names of some of the other writers: Prashanth, Venkat, C.C. Pleasance, Mike Drucker, Sandon Totten, and did I mention C.C.? I did, and I mentioned Mike. I'm fine. Michael Natus is not, nor am I. We're not on it. So it's going to be. You don't win the first time, but it's always cool to be there.
That's
and
great.
I'll wear a tux, and I also wear slacks. I wear pants. It's a
Great
thing.
show.
Everybody there wears pants. All the guys wear pants. The ladies don't, though.
So we'd love to talk about.
Am I going too fast?
No, this is excellent. We'd love to talk about when you grew up. Growing up, you tell so many great stories about wearing a bow tie and your parents, your dad, your mom.
My dad showed me how to tie a bow tie around my leg. Mm-hmm. Tie it. This is about the same diameter as your neck, so you can practice around your leg during one of your Netflix weekends.
And your mom was an innovator. She, out of college, I think it was, went into the military to crack codes.
Yeah, well, she was recruited.
She was recruited.
So my dad was a couple years older than my mother. It was very traditional, and he wanted to build up the nest egg for them, and her father would not let them get married until she was graduated from college. And this is my dad went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and my mom went to Goucher College, which used to be the sister school to Hopkins, women only, but now they let boys in. My mom would say, it's gone to hell, but it was all women, and my dad went, before the U.S. Navy had the Seabees, before that existed, they hired contractors, construction firms, to do heavy lifting. So my dad got a job with a construction company on Wake Island. And if you've ever heard of it, you go to Hawaii and then you go that far again, another 5,000 nautical miles out in the middle of nowhere. There's an atoll that's tactically important. You can refuel a ship there, and that's where they used to refuel the flying boats, the Boeing Clipper airplane. And anyway, they were bombed on December 8th, 1941, which was December 7th in Pearl Harbor. It's the same day because of the international date line. Wake is beyond the international date line when flying east to west. And so he was a prisoner of war for 4 years. If you get a chance to be a prisoner of war, don't. It just sucked. But my mom was graduated in 1942, that spring. Her boyfriend had disappeared. They were bombed, the radio was destroyed, they had no communication. They didn't have Facebook or YouTube or Twitter.
Right.
I know, yeah. What did they do all day? I don't know. They did something, yeah. Excuse me. And so the head of Goucher College, the dean of students at Goucher, was Dorothy Stimson, who was the first cousin of Henry Stimson, who was the Secretary of War. Mm-hmm. And this is back in the day, everybody. He apparently said to her, do you have any ladies that can come work on this thing? I can't tell you what it is. So my mom worked on the Enigma code, which is this notorious thing in World War II. And my whole life, people would ask her, what did you do during the war? Can't talk about it. Can't talk about it. And they had a big party. They were declassified in 1992.
Wow.
50 freaking years after they were recruited, and they still wouldn't. My nephew tried to do a report, and they still wouldn't. None of them. There were 7 ladies there at that point. They would not talk about it.
Wow.
It was a thing.
Wow.
It was a thing.
Wow. An incredible groundbreaker, your mom. Can you talk about her influence on you and
Oh yeah, so my mom, this expression, teach a man to fish. Mm-hmm. My mom was big on teach a woman, give a woman a fish, she'll eat today, teach a woman to fish, she'll eat the rest of her life. Mm-hmm. I can sew, I can cook, I can do the dishes, I can vacuum. I have some competency because she made us learn to do those things. I still have 2 sewing machines, it's more, but one of them's really good for zigzag. I don't have to tell you. But my mom marched in the Equal Rights Amendment parade. in 1973. Thank you, yes. I didn't do it. No, she did it. And she she said she threw her bra in the fire. I don't know if she really did, but that's what she said she did. I was not in a position to verify that. And this is before the Women's March. This is 1973. And that the legacy of those days is with us now. I mean, look, half the employees at Google here are women. In my parents' time, that was not the case. There were very, very, very few women engineers. No women computer coders back then. Very, very few. So she was part of that vanguard, and I get it. I mean, I say all the time, half the humans are women and girls, so let's have half the engineers and scientists be women. What? You get twice as many brains, right? So, there'll be better brains. Women are better at everything. Okay, all right, okay.
And we still
I'm playing the hand I was dealt here. I'm a guy. All right.
And we still have more work to do.
Yeah, I guess.
We're not at half. And
yeah.
How do we encourage more diversity, more women and girls to get into?
Well, diversity. I mean, Malik, I'm checking you out. I think you've probably been through some things that I can't even imagine on account of your ancestry, right? Nobody just pulls me over, driving while dorky white guy. So. Anyway, it's a process, everybody. We just got to stick with it. You can have high expectations, but I encourage everybody not to let your fury get in the way of getting things done. We're all ticked off about something. Not me, of course. I'm totally smooth. So it's a long journey, but I guess you support people based on merit rather than ancestry or gender.
That's right.
Well, thanks, Bill. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, obvi, as the kids say, obvi.
So Bill Nye the science guy, and then there's Bill Nye the comedy guy.
Yes.
They're one and the same.
Sure.
And I thought...
It's not only am I funny, I'm what, Malik? That's right. Funny looking. Yes, hilarious.
And I thought it was so... interesting, the comedy. So can you tell us about your experience in stand-up comedy and?
So what happened was, guy I had been freshman roommate with in college. I went into mechanical engineering. He went into material science. Dave Lax, but we still stayed in touch. We just would go to school in buildings next to each other on the engineering quadrangle at Cornell. And one afternoon, he comes hurrying to my house. We lived near each other in Ithaca, New York, in this area called College Town. And he came hurrying, you got to see this, you won't believe this, you got to come see this. So he had this crazy new thing in 1977. He had cable television. Whoa, dude. And so they had, on there, was running in the rotation, was Steve Martin at the Boarding House, which is a nightclub in San Francisco. It's still there. The Boarding House is still a revered, it's like Whiskey A Go-Go kind of thing. Been there for years and years. And so it was Steve Martin, and I went and looked at it, and the guy, Dave said, look, this guy's just like you. Look at this. He's just like you. His sensibility is just like you.
Can we show slide 2? Well,
slide 2. So they're distinguishable, but not by much. So then a year later, Warner Brothers Records sponsored a Steve Martin lookalike contest. And by then, I'd been recruited by Boeing. I was living in Seattle, working in Everett, Washington, for you zip code buffs. Everett, Washington, right on. World's largest volume building, where they build, at that time, 747. Now they build 777, 787. So I entered that, and I won. I won. I claim, as I told Steve when I met him once, I have met him, I strongly believe that I got what he was driving at in a way that the other contestants didn't, this absurdist view of the world. I did not win the national one. That guy was from Nashville. He could play the banjo, for crying out loud. Steve Martin, if you know, he's well known. He's won Grammys for his banjo playing. But he also kind of looked like him, which was a step I didn't really take. So anyway, after you get laughs, it's very inspiring. It's addicting. You want to get laughs all the time. So I started doing stand-up comedy, and then I met some people, some guys, who were being groomed or recruited by the Seattle NBC affiliate station, KING. Seattle's in King County, Washington. And by the way, it's been retroactively named King County on account of Martin Luther King, who was not around in the 1850s, but it's charming. Anyway, they wanted to have a comedy show. And so they asked me to be in a couple bits, and it was funny, or funny enough. And then I eventually quit my job after a while, October 3rd, 1986, roughly. And and because at that time, you guys, computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacture, computer machining were just coming on. It was like this new thing. Do you compete with CATIA, or do you own them? Yeah, you probably own them. Anyway, it was new technology, and I felt that if I dropped out of engineering, even for 6 months, I wouldn't be able to rejoin, to get back in the, Seattle was not Silicon Valley, but sort of. And I worked at Boeing, and then a company called Sunstrand, which makes all the black boxes for airplanes, and which is now Honeywell. They got bought out, but I took a chance, and it worked out. I kept making a living, and then eventually, I would work part-time. I was one of the last guys, as far as I knew, one of the last guys who work on a drawing board, with lead holders. Oh, we don't call them pencils. Oh no. And electric eraser and a little racing shield, and lay out these big things like this, big sheets of paper to make these tiny little instruments, these little things. Sorry. No, you'd lay it out 10 to 1, sometimes 100 to 1 to make things, that are as big as a watch. You know how the accelerometer in a competitive product can tell you which way the phone's oriented? It was the early days of that stuff. Lithography, a very small scale. So anyway, it took a long time. I quit my job in '86, and I started doing the Science Guy show, and we did a pilot in 1992.
Wow.
So 6 years of dinking around.
Yeah.
Trying to. We did the landmark and important video, Fabulous Wetlands, about how great wetlands are. And that was sort of served as a template for the show with Jim McKenna and Aaron Gottlieb, these other producers I fell in with. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Or did you want to take up the whole hour with me
that's
talking about these details?
Great.
This one of your people.
Yes,
the guy's like 6 feet tall. How tall is that guy?
Not yet, but getting there.
He's like 5'10", isn't he?
Pretty soon.
Look out, Dad.
Yeah.
Look out.
So you're probably one of the only people who have who's gotten advice from both Jerry Seinfeld and Carl Sagan.
Yes, of course. I roll with both.
You roll in interesting circles. What was the advice that you got from Jerry Seinfeld?
Oh, so you guys, on his way up, Jerry Seinfeld would come through Seattle on the circuit. He'd go Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Vancouver, British Columbia, San Francisco, New York, Chicago. Comedians still do it. Anyway, when he was in Seattle, you could go have brunch with him on Sunday morning at this place. There's 2 Starbucks stores in Seattle that both claim to be the first one. At one of the first Starbuckses, you could go there and have coffee with him on Sunday morning especially. And he said he liked to dress better than the audience. That was his advice. And, that's, if you watch the Seinfeld episodes, in the beginning he has a little stand-up thing. He's in a sport coat and tie and a shirt. But you look at Louis C.K., he doesn't adhere to that rule at all. But he doesn't. It's a different deal. And he's brilliant. So I embraced that. Then the other thing he said is, when you're there, be there. It's a real, when you start doing stand-up comedy, you're nervous, you're afraid that the audience will hate you, which is very likely. And so you lose your focus. You get worried about what they think of you rather than your hilarious comedy jokes. And so that was good advice, those two little scraps of advice I've held, and I attribute it to Mr. Seinfeld. He's very nice to us, to all of us. To be young guys. Like, he's 10 years older than I am, kind of thing. And maybe he's less than that, Bill. And he's a huge success, And so those are two really good pieces of advice.
I would love to talk about space. And,
space, huge fans. How many people are members of the Planetary Society? Anybody? Oh, I suck. One guy, thank you. Yes, so check us out at planetary.org.
Right.
Advancing space science and exploration.
That's right. So that's your day job.
That's right.
Can you talk about your day job as CEO of the Planetary Society?
So you guys, I worked for a lot of people, and I make a lot of jokes about my old boss. None of the jokes are flattering about my old boss and what an idiot he was, but there is no one old boss. It's an amalgam. You all work for fabulous bosses, and you're always happy, and there's no conflict here at Google. No, yes. But now I'm in charge of, a few dozen people, 30 people. And I've learned a lot. You want to work with people who share the objective so that you're all trying to do the same thing. And you want to work with people that are competent. But competency is not all that difficult to come by. It's getting the chemistry, getting the people together that can produce. And so I've learned a lot doing that. But what we want to do at the Planetary Society is advance space science and exploration. I submit to you that we are living at a time when we may discover life on another world. And if we were to find life on another world, it would change the course of human history. It would be like Copernicus showing the Earth goes around the sun instead of the other way around. Or Galileo, I know the moon looks like a perfect circle, but if you take this telescope, you can see it's full of bumps. Well, we're going to have to imprison you, I know. But it's still full of bumps. I'm sorry, man. And you have to stay home the rest of your life. Okay, whatever. Still bumps. And so if we found life on Mars, for example, or stranger still on Europa, the moon of Jupiter with twice as much seawater as the Earth, it would change everything. I mean, I'm not saying, I say this all the time, I'm not saying we'd suddenly drive on the left in the US. We're not going to change everything. But it would change the way everybody feels about being alive in the cosmos. And so that's what the Planetary Society does. I was just at the Planetary Protection meeting. So it's the prime directive. You don't want to take human germs to Mars and contaminate it so that you can't tell if there ever were any Martian germs before you got there. And it's a non-trivial issue, getting a spacecraft sterile enough to do that and to get it with instruments that will detect something alive. How do you know if it's alive? Or is it a fossilized mat of ancient microbe bacteria things or what have you? And who's going to pay for it? That's our business. I go to the US Congress a couple times a year and, hey, this would be great, man, I say. I paraphrase. Mr. Congressman, I think this. So the other thing about space exploration that's really charming and wonderful, it brings out the best in us. It really does. You guys know who Adam Schiff is? He's on the news all the time right now because he's the head of the Intelligence Committee. Some issue with Russia and some people, some things. But he's also a huge supporter of exploring Europa because he's a big supporter of the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena. And then there's John Culberson from the Houston area who explained to me that really the safest place, Bill, probably in the country is the Texas State House. Mm-hmm. And Bill, what you do, get your concealed weapons permit and get in the concealed weapons line, shortest line, Bill. Much faster you get, everybody's got a weapon, nothing's going to happen there. Okay, Mr. Culberson, yes. Anyway, he and Adam Schiff disagree about almost everything except the exploration of Europa. And they work to fund it all the time to get what's so-called flagship mission, over $1 billion mission, $4 billion mission. A mission is space talk for rocket ship thing. Mission, yeah, it's a mission. That's what it is. You mean it's a satellite? Yeah, whatever. But the mission involves all the people on the ground and so on. But they agree on this. And I say to everybody, in the case of the US, where we are right now, NASA is the best brand the United States has. You can meet people in other parts of the world that hate the US, they hate me, that hate everything, but they respect NASA. And so that alone is a worthy investment of our intellect and treasure. So I encourage you all to check out the Planetary Society. Is my briefcase over there, Susan? Susan's from Rodale Press, the company that printed the books. Thank you, Susan. Yes. Hang on, this will be worth it. Hang on. I injured my leg. I'm a mess. Hey, my microphone works way over here. Thanks, electronics. So this is a thing we want you to check out for the eclipse. Oh, that's my phone. Is that good to throw them on the floor? There's the Planetary Society logo. Wow, thanks, Bill. Is it a ringed planet, or is it the letter P for planetary? Wait, it's both. So these are eclipse glasses, Malik.
Nice.
So you can't see a thing.
I need an eclipse.
When you look right at this light, do you see anything? Right at them? No, huh?
Not much.
Not you see a little bit. Anyway, so these are for sale. Check out, I Like You. There's a woman-owned business I've done business with for many years, teachersource.com. And the company's called Education Innovations, and they market them. For those of you, is there anybody here who does not have a Bill Nye bobblehead? Wow, it's so weird. Anyway, you also get those at Education Innovations. And so August 21st, there will be eclipse going right across the world's third most populous country. And I encourage all of you to get out there and get under it. If you've never seen a total eclipse, it really is crazy. It's an amazing experience. And it's very reasonable for most of us, it'll be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Because although there are 2 eclipses every 2 years due to the planets and sun, except it's in space, there's no sound. So. Most of them are not over accessible land that's easy for people in the US to get to. So I really encourage you, drive somewhere and get under it. And you can make it a day trip. You can fly to Omaha, drive out under the eclipse, and then go back to the airport and come back. I mean, you don't have to rent a cabin in the woods for 2 years. I mean, just go out there. Or if you're in the Atlanta area, just get in Portland, Oregon. But I recommend you get east of the mountains if you know your way around the Northwest, because west of the mountain, there's a good chance you'll get weathered out, as we say. If it's cloudy, you don't see anything. And it really is amazing. The sky goes dark, you can see stars. I'm hoping this one's going to be real annular. You're going to get the ring around the sun. We're hoping to see these interference bands. The wavelengths of light make these gray bands go whoosh, sweeping across the landscape. It's crazy.
Wow.
Really is something. I've seen one,
yeah.
Good one, when I was in South Africa for a meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's really something.
Yeah.
I've been near a couple of them, but really being under it is cool.
August 21st.
August 21st. Don't miss it if you can.
Right.
And if you don't want to spend all that money on the plastic ones, there's paper ones. And they're okay. And they're also branded for Bill Nye. And, oh yeah, you can see dimly. Yeah, you can see the LEDs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
These modern lights they're no longer a single filament or a carbon arc or anything like that. There's a mixture of little dots, right? Is this your son here, one of these people?
All of these.
Can we have one of them come up?
Yeah, come.
Hi, Bill, what's your name? Do you know?
John Henry.
John Henry. So try those on. Oh, look at you. And look at the lights. Do you see the many colored dots?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have eyewitness. Thank you, John Henry. Yes.
Thanks, bud. All right.
Nicely done. Can I hold on to those? I only brought one.
All right.
Hang on to these.
So we're gonna. That's awesome, and we're gonna go to
take questions from the audience.
Questions, and if we can go to slide 6.
Slide
actually,
6.
As we go to audience questions, I've got a question for the audience. What do Bill Nye, Rihanna, Jennifer Lawrence, and Elon Musk have in common?
I don't play in that league. Somebody said money. No, I don't play in that league. Sorry.
So
Not yet. After we sell a few dozen of these plastic glasses.
You are listed as one of the top celebrities, along with the other three in the plural generation, who are the generation of 13 to 20 somethings.
Yes.
And you're up there with those three. So.
I mean, I'm considered a celebrity among people that age.
That's right.
Wow, right on. So that's great to know. So what I found as a celebrity among people of that age, if I go to a Starbucks and order a vanilla latte, it's $4. Without that, it's $4. So it's just a fantastic thing.
All right, questions from the audience.
So I'm going to throw you this thing if you want to ask questions, because it has a microphone in it. And then
that's a thing, the blue thing.
Yeah, we can throw it. It won't hurt you. It's foamy.
Oh, it's in a bounceable cube.
Yes.
Prove it. Just roll it on the floor and see who picks it up. Let's just try that. Not so fast. Yeah, he was making strong.
Real quick, before I throw this at people, we do have a bookseller right outside. We have subsidized copies of the book you've been hearing about. So please buy one if you want to read it. Yeah. Who has a question?
And I signed them, right? Those are the ones we did yesterday. Yeah, I signed 550 of them yesterday.
Awesome.
Took a few minutes.
And we can move off the slide.
With a fountain pen. Because if you're buying a book, I love you, man. Showing some respect. Yes, so we have a question.
Hi, I'm Julian.
Where are you? Raise your hand, wave. Oh, there you are, Julian.
Hi.
The blue thing, yes.
What do you think that the government's role in science should be? And what do you think it has been historically?
Well, historically, the government, our government anyway, has supported science, basic research, mostly at universities, and then it trickles down. Then we have a whole thing, or we used to, called the Department of Education, which studies how people learn and supports schools, public schools, which I attended. The reason we invest in science is to stay competitive, to innovate. Competitive in two ways: economically on the world stage. When people made fun of him, but when you build interstate highways that enable people to come to work at Google, that is as a form of supporting science. And then the other thing is in national defense. Weapons are almost all continually being innovated, being modified and improved and made more effective. And the big thing nominally, until recently, the big thing was to have cool weapons, not use them. That was the big idea. But it's getting weird, peoples. It's getting weird. So the government, in my opinion, should invest in science. And that's what keeps everybody competitive. There's a whole thing, where I was on the TV the other day with Grover Nordquist, guy who says he wants to shrink the government and drown it in a bathtub. I don't think that's what you really want. Like, after that, do we just drive on either side of the street? Is that okay? And no stoplights? Cool, really fun. No fire departments? You sure about that? So what happens with those guys in general? They talk a good game until push comes to shove, until the sewer backs up, until the military's not funded, then they freak out. So supporting basic research is very important, and whatever innovations you all can do to help everybody, all the internet or information technology people around the world, thank you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. But
yes, thank you so much.
Saying something like that and doing it is different things.
Let's throw the mic. I think we've got a question over here in the front.
I want to see it throw, because it was yes!
There you go.
Woo!
Good throw and good catch.
He could have played pro ball. He could have played pro ball, yes.
So since we know you're an advocate of the non-useful arts, what would be your advice to those who pursue those as a career?
What's a non-useful art?
Well, you were making that joke that the founding fathers were referring to useful arts as engineering and science and
No, but in the 19th century, or the 18th century, I don't think they had the word engineering. It wasn't used the way we use it today.
Well, I guess then just to clarify the question would be, what would be your advice for those who are pursuing like comedy or music production.
Do
or
it!
Arts. In a world where that's more predominantly focused on math, science, engineering, like, as our governments clearly are winnowing and sifting towards that direction, for people who are in the creative fields, what would be your advice, I guess,
Is do it. Just get started. That's my advice.
Do you feel like they're just as important as those other fields?
You can't have a world without art. Okay, everybody, art improves your life. I mean, come on. We're in this architected space that brings out emotions, make you feel a certain way. Yes, you got to have art. So what's going on? So, okay. All right, everything's fine. I grew up with the space program. People my age had the space program. So science was embedded in society. It was just part of what went on every day, along with this crazy optimism that scientists and engineers could solve any problem. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to do this. The Apollo program was 4% of the federal budget. NASA's budget now is 0.4%. It was literally 10 times as big. So science was just around all the time. Cars had fins on them like rockets, not for any utilitarian purpose, just to remind us all of how cool rockets were. And then so that effort was really an informal form of warfare. When that was resolved, this sort of went away. So now there's been this emphasis on STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, STEM school, STEM wing, STEM teacher, STEM thing. And then people quite reasonably said, well, what about art? So now there's STEAM, right? Science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Then I come from time to time, I meet STEAMed. Science, technology, engineering, art, math, and design. Okay, pretty soon we're going to call it school. It's just, the pendulum's going to swing. You do not want a world without art, for crying out loud. But you do not want a world without science. So, all right, that's what happened. My interpretation, which, as you know, is correct.
Questions in the back?
Really, his interpretation? Yes. Bill Nye is correct. Yes.
Hello. Eric, you go first.
I love flying cube, Mike.
So my question is around engaging climate deniers. In this crowd, you're largely preaching to the choir. Most of us have friends where we're preaching to the choir. What can you suggest for us to engage people to make a difference instead of just talking to people who agree with us?
Well, so I say all the time, talk about it, and ask people why they don't believe the world's climate is changing. And most people you meet really are nervous about it. That's my experience. Climate deniers are nervous about it. I was on the radio this morning in Miami, Florida, and everybody's talking about it. The tides are higher every year. Every full moon, the tides are higher, what they call king tides. And when there's a low pressure system, it shows up in Florida on the sort of the 9 o'clock side of a counterclockwise weather system, then the tides are even higher, so-called storm surge. And they're all talking about it. Norfolk, Virginia, Galveston, Texas, they're all talking about it. So if you keep talking about it, eventually things will change. I don't think the US government will be able to will stay in denial. I just think they'll run out of steam. The professionals at the Environmental Protection Agency and US Geologic Survey and the Weather Service are just not going to put up with this. Eventually things will turn around. Just we want it to be as fast as possible.
Thank you.
Right?
All right.
Am I wishfully thinking? Yeah. Scott Pruitt, really? The head of the EPA is the guy who wanted to shut down the EPA? Really? Rick Scott, the governor of Wisconsin, won't say the word evolution. Scott Walker won't say evolution. Rick Scott's the governor of Florida, tried to forbid anybody from using the phrase climate change in meetings of legislators. Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, that's all you got to do is just not talk about it. Gee whiz. These are real people running a real country. It's amazing.
Let's get the cube. Let's take one or two more questions.
Oh, I did have a...
please, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Over to you.
First of all, loved your show as I was growing up as a kid.
I love you, man. I do. Thank you.
This is awesome. I just wanted to know, besides science, if you were involved with the making of your theme song that so iconic, the Bill, 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 Bill.
I know it.
I just
Great
had to hear
song. I mean, I did the voice. Science is a property of matter. I mean, I did the lip sync. I mean, but I was involved. But the guy who did it was named Jim Green, and he has a company called 38 Fresh. He was a producer here in Los Angeles. He's a good guy.
Were there any different versions that you had to choose from for the show when you had?
If there were, you guys, it was 23 years ago. And I don't remember any. I mean, if there were different versions, they might be some scratch tracks that were sort of the same thing at a different beats per minute. But it's just, no. I mean, as far as I remember. And then, you know, Tyler, the creator, did the song for Bill Nye Saves the World. Saves the World. He's a good guy. I hung out with him one morning. He's a funny guy. And we're going to have him on the new show. We start shooting again on Tuesday.
Yes.
Start 12 more shows. So he tried to make it, or he did make it derivative of the old song. But I don't sing the songs. Does everybody know that? You hire that out. So the example I give you all, even if you're not of an age, Gilligan's Island. Gilligan doesn't sing the song. So Bill Nye doesn't sing the song of his own show. There's one exception in broadcast history. Fraser. Kelsey Grammer sang the Fraser song with the scrambled eggs. Yeah, I know. Can't explain it.
Let's do one more question. I thought I saw...
Fraser was a derivative bit from Cheers. Yeah, okay. Jimmy Burrows. Yes. Some more.
I guess
You need the blue mic. The house of blue mics. Yeah.
All right. I guess I have this. So I just kind of wanted to follow up a little more on the question the gentleman with the beard asked before about essentially like when you, I guess like I think it's uncontroversial that like you're not really like a stranger to debates that are controversial. And I guess I find that like, I don't know, sometimes I'll argue with people who I sort of like radically disagree with. And it kind of quickly becomes clear that like in no way is it going to be fruitful. For example, you know, like I know all these people who are like right-wing populist extremists from like my hometown in Tennessee, and like you like talk to them about immigration, and you're like, well, what about the human cost of that ridiculous policy you're proposing? And they're like, oh yeah, well, what about the human cost of what Hillary Clinton did in Libya? And I'm just kind of curious, like, to what extent do you think it's worth like engaging with people with whom you like radically disagree?
Well, I think it's worth engaging. What happens, you know, it's wherever the cities are big enough to have people cross paths, they get over this immigration thing. I think that'll shake itself out. Just these are smaller, like St. Louis is an interior city. It's not a coastal city. Minneapolis is not a coastal city, but you'll find that the people have lawsuits of the state attorney generals have lawsuits against this policy because the big cities have diversity. And you do business with your neighbors, and you just kind of, my understanding is you get over it. So you just challenge your friends to travel. Go to New York. It's a real place. There are fewer murders per day in New York than any major metropolitan city because the city kind of freaked out after 9/11. There's a cop on every corner. And you never get lost in New York because you can ask directions of all the cops on the corner. It's fabulous. And encourage them to go to Paris and see what people are like. Wow, people eat food. Cool. Wow, did not know that. And I think it's just we got to get along. And what you all do at Google is democratize the internet. You know, democratize interaction, social interaction. So it's a long process. But I encourage you to engage people about anything like that. And as far as immigration policies, it is, okay, no aunts or uncles, no grandparents can go, really? Have you thought this through? So we'll see what happens. I don't think that policy will last because the court system, I think, is robust enough. But we'll see what happens. You know, I tell everybody, I remember when Nixon resigned. I'm that old. It took a year and a half for all that stuff to catch up with him. So we'll see what happens in the coming months. Well, maybe nothing will happen. I mean, it's not my idea.
Can you talk quickly about your national service idea?
Oh yeah, my national service idea. This is great. So Bill, you chose not to join the military and you've got an opinion. Yeah! So people my age, the reason I did not go to Vietnam was because basically I'm 6 months too young. I missed getting drafted by 6 months. I had to register for the draft, and your height and weight and everything, and you get ready to be enlisted and stuff. But then the draft was abolished right before. I was born in November. I went to kindergarten when I was 4, so I didn't turn 18 till my senior year in high school. So I missed the draft by a few months, but my older brother's friends were deeply affected by the Vietnam War in a bad way. But nevertheless, because of my parents' experience with the military, my dad was, many years later, was declared a veteran because they had served with Marines in prisoner of war camp. I looked into Air Force ROTC, and I wanted to fly jets. I thought that would be cool. I went to get my physical, and there were a bunch of pilots sitting there in an Air Force base in Rome, New York, for you rural New York buffs. And I said, how often do you guys fly? Oh, every 6 weeks, sometimes every 2 months. What do you do the rest of the time? Oh, we memorize procedures. Wow. Doesn't sound like much fun. So I did not join the military. But if I had been required to, I certainly would have. So my proposal is that we have a national service akin to the AmeriCorps, akin to the Peace Corps, where everybody had to join. So in my parents' day, everybody my parents' age, when they would meet at any situation, waiting in line at the grocery store, or when they would go out dancing, when they go out to dinner at a restaurant, when they'd pick up kids at school, what they all talked about was what they did during the war, World War II, because this thing was such a big deal. It bound everybody together. People of all faiths, of all ancestry, were all in this thing together. So my proposal is that we have a national service that you have to complete before you turn 26. And then we would all be involved. And if you join the military, that would count, of course, for your national service. It would be involved here domestically or maybe overseas, all in this thing together. And yes, yes, crazy Uncle Bill, it would have to be paid for with tax dollars. But we would get infrastructure built. We would get schools connected to the internet, for example. And everybody would be required to do it, and we'd all take it for granted that we had to do it. And I think it would bind us together and ultimately save money, and we wouldn't have this red state, blue state horrible division that we're nurturing or we end up with right now. And it's a crazy idea, but the idea is you could, if you wanted to, you could finish college, undergraduate, before you did your national service. If you, like my dad, didn't think law school, it sounded like all that much fun, you would do your national service right after that. If you were obsessed and crazy, like a few of you, crazy, just very interested in your academic success, and you wanted to get your PhD, you would take your national service after you got your master's degree before you went back for your PhD. That's my proposal. Bill, that'll never fly. Everybody hates each other. We don't want to spend any more tax dollars. I know, okay. So what if each state had a state service? And California state service would kind of put pressure on Nevada to have a Nevada state service and an Arizona state service. Oregon would sure as heck put pressure on Washington to have a state service. And then maybe this could become a national service. It's a proposal. It's a little crazy. I'm glad you asked about it. But the idea is that we'd all have a common purpose so we wouldn't have, you know, there was 15 minutes after 9/11 where everybody was rah-rah US in a constructive way, as horrible as that was. And so a national service is just one of my kooky little ideas.
Great, it's great.
It could be.
We're going to wrap with some quick rapid fire questions.
Oh, yes, lightning round. Bing, 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 bing.
Your favorite teacher?
Mr. Lang, physics, 11th grade. But don't get me, I mean, not that I didn't like Mr. Morris and Miss Rushman.
Okay, one of your favorites.
Yeah.
There you
Mr.
go.
Lawrence in 6th grade. Freaking changed my life.
One of your favorite characters from fiction, books?
Oh, Captain Kirk. I mean,
Captain Kirk, there you go. Give it up for Captain Kirk. If you could be an animal for a day?
I am an animal.
There you go.
I don't know, a successful pelican or something. You don't want to get eaten, you want to be the eator.
You've worked with a lot of great educational YouTubers. One that you really enjoyed working with?
Physics girl, Diane. Oh, yeah, she's great.
That's great.
Emily Calandrelli's great. And Derek Muller, Veritasi,
Yeah.
he's really great. He's a good guy.
Fantastic. Self-driving car or human-powered bike?
Well, a human-powered bike, if the distances are suitable. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a self-driving car. If I live in Studio City, it's 23 miles to get here. I mean, yeah, you could do it, but then I got to go to San Diego this afternoon. I mean, you have to be a heck of an athlete. I'm sure I could do it. Sure. But self-driving car, you guys, I think about my grandfather went into World War I on a horse. Nobody went into World War II on a horse. Nobody was serious about it. I mean, who wanted to live through it. So everything changed in 25 years. Everything changed. So why you don't? I can drive a stick shift. Great. That and $4 will get you the latte. I mean, it's just a skill you don't need anymore. Yeah.
And then the last one for the win: potential energy or kinetic energy?
You exchange one for the other. But you want to be in motion if you can. Yeah.
There we
Kinetic,
go.
Yeah.
Let's all give it up for Bill Nye. Thank you so much. If somebody can hold up the book, let's get a close-up of the book. You got to check out the book. Please buy the book. It's a great read. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.